Hey everyone, you're with Christine and Ask Your Angels, and tonight with me is Heidi McBratney. We're going to be talking about shamanisms, spiritual realms, misguided souls, and Mother Earth. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So everyone's wondering, what is shamanism?
Well, shamanism is really the oldest profession on the earth, and it is a place where people who are shamans, they have been known to be the ones who guide people. They look into the unseen realms. They have communication with everything because everything is alive and vital, and so they're always communicating with everything. So knowing when the time is to plant seeds, when the time is to go on hunts, when the time is to have certain celebrations, and organize a village in certain ways. So they've always been a key part in the villages. And now it continues, not in the same way because our cultures are very different now. We're much larger. But now the shamanism is also, they are the medicine people. They're the people who bring healing and support and organization to the communities.
Okay, so it goes way back. Do you know when it originated? Like how far back?
I couldn't give you a date, but...
BC?
Oh, definitely BC. Matter of fact, many of the things that were learned in the many religions come from shamanism. The roots are from there.
Okay, so that is very far back.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, does a connection to an indigenous tribe or bloodline affect where a shaman would live?
Not necessarily. What often happens with a shaman is they're often born through their generations. So if you were my mother and you were a shaman, one of the children might be a chosen one to go on, or there's sometimes other signals that someone is being called. It's almost like a calling, a priest being called. When for a shaman, it's like they're being called.
So you just know.
Well, they just know, and they often run.
Well, tell us your story.
Oh, goodness.
Where did you originate? How did you first know? And well, did you run?
I definitely ran. I guess when I was probably, I remember as far back as 4, adults saying to me that I shouldn't know the things I know. And that didn't make a lot of sense to me because I just knew. But then as I got a little older, some of the things I did created a lot of puzzlement for people. Mm-hmm. And so I got the message that I better just pull that back a little bit. And so I
like to think that's changing nowadays. That I think parents encourage that
very
more.
Much.
Mm-hmm.
Very much. And so I spent, the first half of my life running, and then I couldn't run anymore when...
Got tired, did you?
No, it wasn't tired. It was either answer the call or your life ends here.
Oh, so okay. Well, I'd say that you're definitely meant to be a shaman then.
That's right.
If someone were to look for a shaman,
mm-hmm.
how would they find one? Like a true one? Because apparently there's a lot of people out there who say they're shamans that aren't.
Yeah, it's because a lot of people are looking for healing right now. Mm-hmm. And so we go on a search, and unfortunately there are opportunists who want to partake in that time and go upon the people who are vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
So how do you look for a true shaman is, well, a true shaman is someone, they tend to be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more humble. They walk with a lot of integrity, and they don't boast a lot about their skills.
That's a nice quality.
I would say that's a big. And then the other thing that I would say to people is to go and source inside themselves and have a trust inside yourself. What feels right.
What resonates.
Yeah. And even sometimes when we meet someone who, quote's not a true shaman, they come into our life for a purpose also. They're a stepping stone to somewhere else. So everyone we meet in our life is a stepping stone and helps guide us. Whether those people have been really helpful in a really good sense, or it's been difficult and they're still helpful.
But you still learn a lesson from that.
Absolutely.
What is shaman ecstasy?
Mm.
Oh, look, we got more viewers. I knew that would grab their attention.
So I would say that shaman ecstasy is when a person who's a shaman is working, they travel to different realms, different spaces. And so someone described that as a trance mode. But ecstasy is when you're working at a very, very heightened vibration. And so in that heightened vibration, you're one with everything. There is no difference between anything. There is no, you and I are not different, we're the same. And that's a very special place. We know that in our minds. We were told that all the time.
You'd have a feeling of euphoria being in that place, wouldn't you?
It's even
you
more than that.
You wouldn't want to come back.
Yeah, it's even more than that. Yes, you don't want to come back.
So do you astral travel?
That's a good question, and I would say I probably live there.
Oh, so you're astral traveling here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
This is not where you normally are.
Well, I've had things happen, like friends of mine in South America will email me and say, Heidi, I just saw you in the Playa de Armas. Email me, we'll get together for a tea. And I said, that's great, you saw a part of me, but my physical body's in Canada.
We had Alan Green on last week, and he's had the same thing, where
Fantastic.
People have seen him around.
Yes, I love
Nobody
Alan.
sees me anywhere. I'm still stuck here. No one ever... I don't know, viewers, have you seen me anywhere but this show? Just if you do, let us know.
I think they might say yes to you.
You never know. I like to think I astral travel. I know I do it at night.
Right.
When I dream.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
And it's more intense lately. The dreams are more vivid, and
Good.
I wake up tired. I hear you're supposed to be
So
refreshed.
you're coming in for a crash landing before you have to wake up?
Probably. What advice would you give people, Heidi, that they try to live very positive lives?
Right.
You know, that law of attraction, I'm always being positive, but they always seem to hit stumbling blocks along the way.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good one. Because what often happens, so now I'm going to give you a bit of history of that, if that's okay.
Yes, that's great.
Is that we have our energy field, our soul, our spirit, our essence. And in that soul or essence, there is like a template. And the best way to describe it is we have DNA, and our DNA informs what color hair you're going to have, what color eyes, what illnesses you may be prone to based on your genetics. We once thought that was static, that you couldn't change that. But we know different now. We know that, for example, if you're prone to diabetes, you eat differently, you exercise, that you can change the actual physical cells and then move the diabetes out of the genetics. Well, the soul or the spirit is the same way, as it has a template, much like a computer, like a desktop, and it has icons on it. And a lot of those icons, if you're like me who knows nothing about technology, I have all these icons, I don't know what they're for, I'm working on something, I accidentally hit one, and a whole new program's running. And it takes you amiss. So in our energy field, it takes us amiss. So that when people are living the positive life and they're doing everything right, but they keep questioning, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? It's usually because there's a program that has been set off in their energy field or in their soul, and that's kind of guiding the line. So no matter what they're doing, no matter how many affirmations, they're going to keep hitting that wall. until something changes it.
So how do they change it? Because I know they're out there going, how do I change it?
Right.
And you are so soft-spoken, but I'm going to ask you to try to be a little louder, because, no, we're good? Okay, never mind.
Perfect. So usually with something like that, you need someone to go and see it, because you can't see it. You know you're hitting the blocks, but you don't know what to do with it. And someone, the best way I can I'm going to show you is, so there's a little sign on here that says guest book. But if I put the book up here, I can't see that. And that's like being inside of ourselves. We can't see it. I need to be able to back it up. And then I can read this. That's why we have someone on the outside facilitate or help us. The best advice that I would give to people to try and start doing it themselves is see your life as a movie. Put yourself in the chair as though you're a witness, you're objective, and you're watching the movie of your life.
Mine's a comedy.
Yeah, mine's a real mix. Sometimes it's a horror show.
I need popcorn to get through it. I really do.
With lots of butter?
Lots of butter.
And so we want to be able to witness what's happening, because when we can witness, we start to see patterns, and we go, oh my gosh, look, that keeps happening, and that keeps happening. Sometimes it's on dates, or sometimes
the same job
we
you're not happy with all the time.
Maybe that, or every time something people often describe to me as, I feel like I'm going forward, I take 5 steps forward, and I suddenly pull back seven steps. And they can recount numerous times that's happened in their life. And that's a real indicator that there's a program running that is guiding their soul that needs to get cleaned up. So much like a computer, we need to take that program out of the computer.
And well, Beverly Nadler's been on our show before talking about reprogramming, and it's the same sort of idea.
Right, right.
The only thing is and I think you believe this too, as we were talking about earlier, there's some challenges we have in life that we are meant to have because we're here to learn, and we learn from them. So how do you differentiate between the two? How do you know that the stumbling block, like for me, a lot of times I hit stumbling blocks and I accept them and say, well, I'm learning from this, and this obviously was meant to happen, and once you can accept it and look at it that way, it's so much easier.
Right.
But how do you know the difference?
It's a fine line, because it's, do I just go through it because that's what I'm supposed to be doing? And that is somehow kind of handing your life over to something else. See, we're the creators of our life.
We do the contracts before we come in.
Right.
But if we made that contract, isn't it possible we made it for a reason? Well, are we being true to our higher self by changing that contract?
Well, you're always your higher self. See, when we come to Earth, where our vibration is coming down to a denser level.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you're always at your higher self. It always exists. We spend a lot of our Earth years trying to get to that higher self. Right? So what you can do when you recognize that there's some kind of contract that you maybe made, you can agree to change the contract. Sometimes we're coming here to learn, but we're learning to live in our full essence, in our full spirit, in that higher vibration. So sometimes it just requires us to forgive ourselves, right? Because, and even forgive out here, right? Because out here is ourselves, because we're creating everything all the time, consistently. So that fine line is, when do you feel you've had enough? Right? And of course, a lot of us out there will probably say, I've had enough a long time ago.
That's why I laughed, I know.
But then there's this other part of us that feels like, well, I must be supposed to be going through this for a reason. Right? But that's where we need to, one, either be able to back up and witness, so that we can say, is there something I want to do different in this movie? If I'm the director of this movie on the screen, and I'm not liking what's happening, what do I want to do different? So that's one
That's a great
each person can do.
perspective to make yourself the director.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Well, we are. We absolutely
We are, but no one's ever really put it into words that way to make you actually realize, hey, you're right. I totally am.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we realize that we're the director, then we have
Who wants
power.
a smash hit?
That's right. Don't we all?
We do.
Right?
I think everybody does.
And then the other thing that we can do to, because sometimes it is important to learn, and because that helps us get to that higher vibration, but we want to realize that we already know everything. Your soul, your spirit, every one of us knows everything, and we're in the process of remembering that.
Remembering that we know everything.
Absolutely.
And maybe by raising or by changing those contracts, that's a learning experience too, because you've learned, hey, I can change the contracts.
Yes. You know, a long time ago, someone once said to me, they looked at my contracts and they said, Heidi, you have libraries full of contracts. And I said,
contracts were meant to be broken.
I said, that's going to take me many lifetimes to go and read all those books. So I'm just going to blow it up and we're going to start new. And I did.
That's a great idea. So for people out there who are now saying, how do I do that, Heidi?
Right. So your intention is the biggest and most important thing. That's where a lot of your power is held. And being really clear what you want to ask for. So what do I mean by that is, you see I'm getting calmer and I'm kind of going inside myself. I sit quiet inside, and sometimes that's hard for many of us to achieve at first, to get that quietness. And I say, what do I really want? Because most of us don't know what we want. We know what we don't want.
That's true.
But we don't know what we want.
In that way, when we're asking for what we want, we're not always as specific as we need to be.
Right. Right. So when we go quiet, because your soul always knows what it wants. Your soul always knows its purpose. Our brain may not know what our purpose is here.
My soul wants chocolate, Heidi.
I think that's our body that wants it.
So
and there's nothing wrong
send
with
chocolates to P.O. Box. No, I'm just we don't have a P.O. Box. I'm just kidding. So, as a shaman, how do you view the world? How do you see it?
Oh, wow. Boy, that's a question, Christine. Alive, dynamic, interactive, connective, one, whole. I don't see it just as a world. I don't just see the tangible things that we see and touch. I see everything that's in between. I see the worlds that are constantly communicating with this world, the in-between places.
I'm sorry, you're talking and I'm hearing Louis Armstrong in the background singing It's a Wonderful World. It should have been playing. It's beautiful.
It is a wonderful world. It is such, I know we often feel that it's hard to be here. Mm-hmm. And I certainly have been through that and still have my challenges with that. I'm only human.
I think everybody does. Absolutely. I think everyone has to go through that bad period, you know.
Yeah. But what a blessing to come to this earth, because in what we can do in an average 70, 80-year lifespan would take 10,000 years in spirit form.
Really?
Yeah. To learn, to achieve that, because in spirit form we're also growing and learning.
So that's why we come to the earth then.
It's a great place. And look how beautiful it is, really.
It is beautiful. Yeah. Let's hope
and
it's beautiful in 20
people.
Years, because you know, we're kind of destroying our world too, which is very sad.
Mm-hmm. But it's on repair. People are awake now because of some of the really difficult, bad things that are happening. Not everyone's awake, but it's more and more happening that we're saying, whoa, so we've got to change the direction. We've got to start with this love. We've got to, and where does that love start? Yes, we want to love our earth, but it has to start here. You have to love in here, because when you love in here, then you can love what's out there. Even those things that seem difficult or challenging, you start to love them and appreciate them.
I believe that. I really do. Of course, that's why we're having the show too. We're trying to get everyone's awakening, and those who aren't, the more we awaken, the more we can help the others that aren't awake yet. That's kind of our goal. That's why we're here. So, and with that, I'm going to say, for those of you who are joining us, you are with the Ask Your Angels talk show. We're with Heidi McBratney, and we are talking about shamanism. So, what can you tell us about soul retrieval? Okay.
So, soul retrieval, sometimes in this lifetime or in other lifetimes, because I believe that energy just transitions all the time. So reincarnation, some of us would call it. Mm-hmm. And I see it, I try and describe it to people as a leaf on a tree. It grows in the fall, it falls, it gives us beautiful colors before it hits the ground. And we think it's dead now, that that leaf is off the tree, but it's not. It transitions into food, nutrients for the ground, that feeds the ground and the plants and the other trees that are around there. So it just transitions. But when traumatic things happen, whether it be this life or other lives, part of your wholeness, if you were a whole, leaves. Because it's saying, hey, it's not safe to stay here. I don't want to get wrecked. So I'm going to go hang out over here.
So pieces of your soul can break off.
Yeah. But they don't. Sometimes they go far, far away. But
are they connected by, is it like cords? Are they still connected?
There's a little umbilical cord, but it's like outer space. So there's no gravity. And once in a while it floats back and it hits us in the head and we have a moment of enlightenment or feeling different. And then it goes again. Because just like no gravity, it's off again floating somewhere. Or sometimes it goes so far away we don't know how to access it or get it.
So soul retrieval, I'm guessing, is retrieving your soul.
Yeah, go get it and bring it back, because it's like walking around without minus one of your body parts.
Is that why some people feel lost?
Absolutely. And people will talk about it. They'll say, I feel like something's missing. Mm-hmm. Or they're going to different countries searching for something. They're not sure what they're searching for, but they're searching. You know, I'm searching for a teacher. I'm searching for something. I'm searching for my purpose. Right? And often, so we look outside of ourselves. But when we have that terminology, it's because something's missing inside. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's not to be seen as a fault or bad or something like that. It was actually something that needed to happen in order to preserve the essence at that moment in time of whatever was difficult. So when we do soul retrieval, we go and look for that part of the wholeness that needs to come back to that person.
And how do we do that?
Well, you're usually going to someone.
Through meditation, or
there's two ways. One is you're often, because what happens is that part of your essence that's gone away, it's so unfamiliar to you that you wouldn't even recognize it if it came up and said, hi Christine, I'm part of you. You go, you look nothing like me, you act nothing like me, you're not me. And we can push it away. So we need someone who's a little bit more objective, if we will, who can go out and search for that and find it, because there are places where it goes to. The other thing that an individual themselves can try, and sometimes this will happen, is, again, go in a quiet space inside and ask their angels, their guides, their spirit animals, whatever they may use, God, Creator, and then say, please show me my wholeness, and is it ready to come back to me? Any part of me that's been missing that needs to come back for my highest and best, please come back to me. Okay, so that's one. Or imagine, I'm hoping people have heard of the tree of life. Mm-hmm. If we imagine a tree, right, we have the beautiful branches that go up and are gathering energy from upwards, and then the roots of the tree, which look like the branches, but they seek from the world beneath.
They have that at Disneyland, I think.
Do they? I've never been.
Don't they? Where did we see the Tree of Life? I think it was Epcot or one of those.
It was in Disney, but it wasn't Disney. It was the Animal Kingdom.
Oh, the Animal Kingdom. It's beautiful.
Well, Disney is beautiful because they have a lot of... I've seen some of their shows, and I swear sometimes they have a shaman consulting with them.
They probably do.
And so what you can do is you imagine going into the Tree of Life and going down to the roots. Why the roots? Because the roots are your essence, right?
Because you're part of the earth?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can ask in those roots, please, anything that needs to come back to me, present yourself to me. And then we can ask questions, because again, as I said, we may see something may present that looks unfamiliar, it doesn't make sense to us. We can ask questions and say, who are you? Why have you come? What part of me do you represent? What will you bring to me? How can you help me on my journey? So we can get curious like a child does. You know how a 2-3-year-old asks lots of questions?
Oh, sounds like fun.
Well, we want to be like that again. They're
Some
wise.
of us have never changed.
That's good.
Some of us are still childlike. That is good. I think everyone should have a little bit of child still hanging around.
Absolutely.
For soul retrieval, how does it help people that are in the process of dying or having difficulty crossing over?
So if we do soul retrieval for someone who's getting ready to pass, it can bring great ease because their wholeness is together again, and they can pass feeling complete.
Now, what happens if they pass and they're not complete?
Sometimes they'll gather those pieces up along the way as they're passing.
As they're leaving, okay.
Right? Sometimes you can get stuck between the worlds.
Is that what ghosts are?
Yes.
So they're not the whole person, they're pieces of the person, usually?
But some ghosts are two things. They are sometimes they're lost. So they get stuck. They don't know how to go there. They don't feel deserving to go there, or
they're scared of what might happen if they go.
Or they feel incomplete, that they don't deserve to go there. They're looking for these other parts, so that's one. Or sometimes ghosts are those who don't know that they have left the physical body, or they're trying to hang on to the physical body.
Not me, I can't wait. I can't wait to just feel that nice floaty feeling.
Remember your dreams and astral traveling.
Yeah, astral traveling, I tell you, I'm a lightweight when I astral travel. It's awesome. Oh boy. And then I totally forgot what I was going to ask you. What can you tell us about our spirit guides?
Get a bit more specific. That's such a wide range.
I know. What do you have?
Wow.
Well,
such a big topic.
I'll share something. Coming up on one of our shows coming up, we have a lady coming on who actually draws pictures of spirit guides.
Beautiful.
I know.
Beautiful.
I'm super excited about it. So she can loved ones that are around you.
Yes.
Spirit guides, but she draws them. She's incredible. So I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic. So our spirit guides, again, there's worlds beyond just this world. And so those guides are there. They've been assigned a job. Sometimes we've called for them to come and support us. If you ever think of being a child and something happening that you didn't want to happen, and we call and we say, please, something come help me. Or sometimes we want a playmate, right?
Those imaginary
sometimes,
friends.
Yeah, they're not imaginary whatsoever. I remember once our little boy, Fridays we called it grocery adventure because we go grocery shopping. And
wow, that's a great way to put a spin on grocery shopping.
Yeah. So we piled in, and they were in baby seats, and so I got them into the baby seats, and I knew my eldest had a lot of friends in the unseen realms, and he said, "Stop!" I said, "What?" He said, "So and so's not in the car." And I said, okay, honey, I can't see so-and-so, so you're going to have to go get that. I can't remember the name. You have to go get, I'll get you out of the car seat. You go get them and tell them that we're going on the grocery adventure and if they want to come along. So off he went.
That's so fabulous.
Got them, brought them in the van, and I said, you have to tell them to sit down because we have to be safe and see if they need their safety belt on. And then he said, okay, Mom, we're ready to go now. Everyone's here.
That's amazing. I love it.
So our guides are, and they support us because they can sometimes see things that we can't. They're our objective witness, or sometimes they help.
So when
see
you don't
things.
know which aisle the Cheerios is in,
Absolutely,
you can send the guide out.
Yeah, yeah. I actually use. I have an eagle. Anyone who knows me, I tend to be a bit of a fast driver, and I have an eagle that I send out ahead, and I said, go find where I need to slow down so I don't get a ticket.
Ellen was talking about that too. Well, not so much not get a ticket, but for safety, you know,
right.
That you can kind of astral travel ahead of time and see if there's a car going to be in your way or coming at you, or for safety
right.
reasons.
Beautiful. When our guides can take care of that too, as they let us know, right? And so we can call upon them. So what we may want to do is, again, get quiet inside and ask for a support or a guide to come to us. And then you want to quiz them. It's like you're sitting them down on an interview, because you want to know who's sitting in front of you, right? And so I want to know, who are you? How can you help me? What are you going to support me with? How do I know you're there? How do we connect? So you want to ask those questions in interview, because a lot of times we think that the spirit realm is much, that they know everything. But they're also growing too, because there's so many different realms. So the spirit realm is growing also. And just like...
So they're learning, but in different ways than we do.
In different ways, right? And I don't know about you, but if I had an employee, I want to have the one that's going to provide the best service for whatever I'm doing. Right?
I want to be a guardian angel.
I think you already are.
Really?
Absolutely.
I kind of...
Look at what you've put together and you're bringing to people. And
I kind of
showing
meant
us
when
the
I
way.
pass over, I've kind of put it out there already that that's the job I want, to come back for one little boy maybe, and help him through life. And for those of you who have just joined us, you are with the Ask Your Angels talk show. We're here with Heidi McBratney. We're talking about shamanism, and we're having lots of fun. Please chat in your questions. We'd love to hear from you. So here's a question. Soul recovery, does this work with animals? Do they also lose parts of their soul? How does that work?
Absolutely. So animals are just like us, and anything else too. Nature, Mother Earth, right, is they can lose part of their energy and their essence because of maybe some of the abuses or the mistreatment that may happen to them. And sometimes not abuses, maybe...
neutering? I'm just saying.
I never thought of that, but yes, because we have 3 huge, beautiful dogs, and we've not neutered any of them. We can't take them to stay in a kennel because they're not neutered. And so it could be that. Sometimes if I've met a horse who lost its I don't know what the young horses are called, babies, colts. And the loss to the mother horse was so great.
Oh,
right.
I always wonder that. You know, when you always see that you take the puppies away from the mom and the kittens. I mean, for humans that would kill me.
Right.
Which is,
right.
But nobody thinks twice about it. You know?
Right. So it starts to give us a different concept of how to consider that everything is alive and vital and interactive, and it has feelings. Everything has feelings. Right. We like to think we're the only ones, but everything does. Feels it in its core and its spirit.
Absolutely. What can you tell us about, do you do viewing and dream interpretation? Remote viewing? What can you tell us about that?
So remote viewing is to be able to see things in places where your physical body is not there. but that you can, it's like a camera. It's like being a camera into something. And
have you experienced that personally?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I often do, even because I'm asked to work with people around the world. And I can't be in all of those places physically. So, you know, I may work with people on Skype or stuff like that, but I still have to see into what's going on and see what's happening in their energy field. So I place myself where they are, and I see what's happening in their environment also.
Okay.
Remote viewing is also being able, in past times it was, where is the buffalo going to be? Where is the hunt going to be? And when do we have to be there? So you work outside of time, that there is no time. We think it's linear. You know, here's today and tomorrow is March 1st and so on and so on. But the world is really constantly like a revolving. Everything is simultaneous. And it's being able to tap into that, then see how do we do that in the literal place. And where do I look for that? So you said Alan would send an eagle ahead of time. Well, part of that's remote viewing. Where do we need to watch for safety?
I'm not sure if he said an eagle. I think you'd mentioned eagle. He said he can project, like kind of go forward if he's driving and see
Right.
what's up ahead. And he says
Right.
a lot of people do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what we can do is you can start to, and we all do this. I want to make this so simple, because sometimes people who seem to have these skills, we think only they can do that.
That's true.
Right?
I
So-
would say to everyone, like for psychics and things,
Mhm.
you know, how do I become psychic? We all have this ability.
Absolutely.
And the more open you are, the more it's like going to school. Okay, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to go do different classes and learn and really build on that and be the best teacher.
Right.
It's like that. It's like anything. If you want to be psychic, you just take the ability that, believe it or not, you already have, and you just, do what I do. I have people on every week, and I'm learning, and it enhances your skills.
Right, right. So if I give the example of almost a remote viewing that I think all of us do, so I'm going to use, because I'm from the city, is if you're traveling the 401 and we have the collector lanes and the express lanes. And let's say you're a person who you normally like the collector lanes. So you're traveling along and you suddenly get the thought or the feeling that I should go in the express. And we either say to ourselves, that's crazy, I don't like the express, I'm not going to do that. Or we go, I don't know why, but I'm going to go in the express.
Go in the express.
And we find out later on, if we're a little further down, that either, boy, it was a good move to go in the express because the collector stopped maybe because of construction, or we're in the collectors and we go, boy, I wish I listened to myself.
It's like we have our own internal GPS.
We do.
I drive my son to school every day, and there's a highway, so I can be on the highway, or there's a little side road towards the end that can branch off. But it's right at this particular moment where the highway branches off, and it can either get so busy that you're stop and go, or it just zips along. And every day I go, okay, which way am I going today? And I trust it, and it's always right. And I did ignore it once.
Right.
And I was so mad.
And you just said a really important word, Christine, is trust. Right? And that's the big thing that we all want to develop, is this trust.
It is all about trust, isn't it?
Absolutely. And test it. I used to play games. The phone would ring. Now we have caller ID.
Oh, where you guess who it is.
Yeah, guess who it is. Or even there was a time with some friends of mine, and it was funny, I was talking to one of my friends last night. We used to play this game called What's in the Box. So we would have someone who was separate from us put something in a box. And then...
Oh, you'd have to guess what it is.
Yeah, 4 or 5 of us would be together and we'd start describing what color we thought it was, what shape it was, what material was it made of, and all of that.
I love that.
And it would start fine-tuning.
You could market that.
You can just go do it.
No, that's a great idea.
And especially if you have a few of you and you get on the phone. Well, for us, we were on the phone because we were in different countries.
Oh,
and we had someone's child pick the item and put it in a box.
So how successful were you doing that?
Me personally?
What was your percentage rate like?
Fairly high.
I think that, you know what, I am going to do that. I have actually some friends coming over. We're going to work on some exercises to help increase their psychic ability. That is amazing.
And I would encourage everyone to do that.
Go get a box. Not right now. Wait till after the show.
and then you get to realize where you don't have trust. Because sometimes we say, oh, I think it's red. No. I'm not sure.
It's always where you say, oh, I should have trusted my first instinct.
Absolutely.
You know, when you second guess, it's always the first instinct.
Absolutely.
And it is trust. Because I have a friend, she's really intuitive. She always says, I have to trust my intuition. I'm like, yes, because you're gifted.
Yeah.
Just trust it.
Yeah.
No.
We have to learn how to make the separation between, because the trust, that first instinct you talk about, is your soul, is your spirit, is the knowledge of everything talking. The questions that come afterwards is our mind, our ego, that likes to be very chatty with us.
It's true. It's true. I have little fights in my head, and people are like, okay. Because I'll have something, it'll say something in my head, and I'll go, well, no, I don't want to do that. And we'll have this little tug of war, and I'm sure everybody does that.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
It's one of my favorite jokes of all time was like, what do you, like someone who really wants to freak people out, what do you do on an elevator? You're in an elevator, it's like, everybody just shut up in there. But it's kind of like that when you talk openly about being psychic and I hear voices.
I'm glad you did that. I used to stare at people in an elevator to see what they would do.
Stare at them?
Well, you know, I would just look at them and say hello. And then keep just looking at them and smiling.
And they're gradually easing over to the other side of the elevator.
It depends where you are and what city you're in. And
That's too funny. Oh my gosh, there'll be people going home tonight in their elevators just creeping out their neighbors. So we've got the box exercise and the elevator to try out.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And who's calling, and don't use your caller ID.
Well, you know what? Who's calling, though? I pretty much can nail that. Telemarketer! It's like, how many calls at night? Like 6, 7 calls, and they're all telemarketer. It's like,
dinner
okay.
time.
And dinner time, yeah. It's crazy. I think there should be a law. I really do. What is the relationship between shamanic... I can't say the word now. Shamanic tradition. Am I saying that right?
Absolutely.
Shamanic traditions and culture. Please don't ask me to repeat that because I will never say it right again.
I'm thinking how to answer that one. See, with shamanism, it was a very open thing at one time, and then it had to become very closed. It became dangerous.
Is that because of people that were non-accepting, or
non-accepting? As our culture changed, as different forces came into place, some of those being religions came into place. The shamanisms had to go in the background. They've always been, but sometimes they're working back here because it wouldn't be safe to work out in front. And there's still places in our world where it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
So depending what the culture is, you have to, you're determining whether it's safe to be out forward or not. And I know myself even that, my first life was where I hid was in psychology because I could do what I did, but I had a guise. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I came out of the closet, so that's what I call it.
That is, I call it that too. Right. It's that moment where you're not afraid to put yourself out there and say, I can do this. Yes, I hear voices, and not worry that people look at you like you have two heads.
Right.
So why is it so important to balance your energy field?
Oh, for so many reasons. Let me think physically. Let me go through all levels. So I want my energy field balanced, because if I don't balance my energy field, I'm always physically kind of wobbly. I'm bumping into things all the time. I'm accident prone.
If you had, let's say, a stressful childhood, would that cause that?
To not be balanced? Absolutely. Well, that will often be not grounded. If we have a stressful childhood, our soul wants to leave or move out, because it's saying, this isn't safe, this isn't comfortable, right?
I was always banging into walls. That's all I'm going to say on the subject.
And other times what happens is, we were earlier talking about soul retrieval, and so part of the essence leaves, so we're not balanced, or we're as balanced as we can be, but something is missing, right? So why is that balance important? Is one, physically, because it's, it's painful bumping into things all the time and walking around with bruises. Emotionally, a lot of people will describe that roller coaster ride. I want to get off the roller coaster, but how, right? Mm-hmm. And so we go about trying to balance our emotions. But in shamanism, we're looking at energy. We're looking at the highest vibration, which is the energy. And if we shift things there, it filters down to your emotions, to your physical being, etc., etc.
Thank you. We have a question.
Excellent.
Question just came up. What are your thoughts on contemplating our mortality?
Contemplating our mortality. I would love to understand a little bit more what they're thinking, what they're wanting from that question. Because for me, there's no...
It's a very wide open question. It's not very specific.
There's no immortality. Earlier I was talking about a leaf. And so nothing dies. My mother recently passed within the last couple of weeks, and people have said to me exactly your response.
But she's here.
And I said, how beautiful. I am so happy for her. Because she now gets to move, not with the confines of a physical body, right? And especially if the physical body was having difficulty or suffering. So she's still living, right? Just in a different form. So I think we always have that.
I always say, when we grieve, we should be grieving for ourselves, because of
that's what it is.
The loss of who, not seeing that person every day, not being able to share things. But, well, actually, you can still share things, because you can still talk to them. They're usually nearby.
Absolutely. They check in.
And they are in a better place.
I just want to read what came through, just so you can have an understanding.
Beautiful.
As in visualizing our death, making peace with the idea of death being the lot of all man.
Oh, yes.
Irregardless of our personal views on afterlife, ETS, just overcoming the fear of death through facing it.
I can understand that, because as much as I believe, and I do believe very strongly, that life after death is wonderful, and it's an adventure, and I'm excited, and but that doesn't eliminate the fact that there's a part of me that always goes, I'm gonna die. I'm actually gonna die one day. I'll wake up in the morning and go, it could be today. Because I remember I worked at Liz Claiborne for a little bit, and I remember one day all the women were standing around talking, and there was a girl that used to work there, so they all knew her, and she went out at lunch, and she was in a rush. She went over the railway tracks and got hit by a train. And all I kept thinking was, this girl got up in the morning, she did her hair, she did her makeup, she got dressed, she went to work, it was just another day, never knowing this was it. And every day, not every day, but there's days where I'll wake up and go, is this it? And that's hard. It is hard to deal with. And I think, again, it's because not so much you don't like to think that even though we're going to change and our spirit goes, this body, this person we've been with our whole lives, in a way is gone. And we're grieving for that, but we also leave behind the people we love. Or at least that's how we perceive it on a human level. So it's hard. And I'd love to hear your answer to that. Because that's something I think, no matter how much we believe, that's something I think we all share, that we all deal with.
So I'm going to try and make it as simple as I can, is how do we deal with one day we are going to be out of a physical body, no matter what we believe beyond that. Is what I always say to people is you want to have peace in your spirit and your soul every day of your life. So when I wake up tomorrow, I want to say to myself, what is going to bring me peace today? And to try and walk that way. And that's not always an easy thing to do, right? Because we face the challenges of being in our human life. And then at the end of the day, I want to say, am I at peace? So what does that mean is to live your life where you have no regrets. And if you view your life, earlier we were talking about we review our life, okay? And if we see places where we have regrets, to make peace with that. And what does that mean? That often means making peace with ourselves. Because sometimes we can't make peace with something that has happened, or maybe that we don't know who that person is or how to get access, or they've passed on. So it's about making peace with your own soul. So I say to people, live as though today is the last day of your life. Right? Because then we also shift our perception into what's really important.
We do. It's like when I start worrying, I'm like, you know what? Why am I worrying about money? What if I drop dead tomorrow? What does it matter then? Why have I wasted this day worrying about something that's out of my control?
And what happens is when you don't worry, for example, then you shift your energy and you open it more. And so things come. Right? And at the same time that I say live as though this is your last day, live as though today is the beginning of the rest of your life. And the reason for that is, think about a newborn child, is they come into the world and it's like, whoa.
And a clean slate.
What is this place? And they, you know, as they get older, they're exploring with every part of their body. And what is this? And the wonder. Absolutely. So we want to have that same way, that childlike way and wonder, and see the beauty in everything, right? And then have no regrets at the same time. So that when death should find its way to us, that we can greet death and say, okay, my friend, there you are, and maybe I wasn't ready for today. I was thinking it might be a bit longer, but okay.
Yeah. Thank you. That was beautifully
I hope that
put.
Answered for the viewer.
I hope so too. I do want to mention something. In shows, when are we having this? I think it's the early part of May or a very late April 25th, I think. I have a lady coming on the show. Her name's Anne, and she is going to talk to us about grieving. Finding your search for serenity, because I've had a lot of viewers contact me after the show who are dealing with people that have passed, and you know, we have quite the lineup set up for you, and we're booked right up until May, so I'm getting her on as quickly as I can, but I think you're going to love this woman, and she's going to be a great help. So I hope that can bring you some peace as well. It's something I wished I'd thought of sooner, so I apologize, but we're going to have her on the show end of April. Do we have a question?
Just the person made a comment that asked a question. It says, thank you for answering. I find it very freeing. For some it should be obviously avoided. Thanks again, just like hearing other perspectives.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for chatting that question, and we appreciate it. So, here's a question. Do you believe in curses?
Yes. Yes. So again, Sometimes people will come, or families will come, and there's a pattern that they have done their darndest for everything, and it's not about something missing. It really, and people talk that way, you know. I've got a black cloud over me. I must have done something terrible in a past life.
I have said that.
Right? And sometimes it is something that has been placed in our energy field, sometimes in this life, okay? Or sometimes in generations past. And so that those curses become, remember I talked about a template in our energy. It lives in the template and it carries on in the generations.
Now,
or sometimes it's been placed purposely in the generations.
Can you get that then from, say, another person who actually wishes you ill will and says, I curse you? You know, like a girl maybe just broke up with her boyfriend, isn't too thrilled about it, and puts a curse on him. Do you believe that that's... See, I don't like to believe that's possible.
Okay, so everything is energy. Our thoughts are energy, our physical bodies are energy. And so a thought that I wish you ill somehow because I'm angry at you, that thought does go out.
With negative energy.
Right. And it depends, if you will, I'm going to use this word, how powerful that is.
If you allow it to be.
Well,
do you not have free will over that? I choose to... Can you not put up an imaginary shield and just say, this is not going to happen?
I think that is true. And then other times, if you have someone who knows what they're doing, you know, I've had a curse placed upon me. I had someone hired to do black magic on me. And so...
Boy,
and
you make interesting friends. And I hope you didn't bring them here with you.
No. I knew right away that something was up. I felt it. And then I thought, well, how did they find their way in? Because I'm not, you know, I'm not an easy person to access. But I became very thankful to that person, because it showed me something that I saw I hadn't seen in myself, about how someone could find an access point, and I could then go and bring healing to that. So it was no longer an access point. So that's why I talked about how powerful. And if you have someone who is intentionally trying to harm someone in their energy, okay, and there are people, unfortunately, who don't work in integrity, right? And it's it could be a profit-making business. Think about, you know, I don't know, people who get divorced and how you can't stand your ex and wish them ill, which I hope people don't do.
Unfortunately, there are some that do.
Yeah. And so what a really good person will do who places a curse is finds an opening in the other person that sets off the pattern in the template that I talked about. So now it's almost like this person starts doing things to themselves and they don't almost realize what they're doing.
And is that like the other program running?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it triggers a program.
Maybe for people that have just joined our show, do you mind just reiterating that part again about the program running?
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
So earlier I was saying that our energy field, our soul, our spirit comes with a template like a computer, if you imagine a desktop. So there's different programs, and a lot of those programs we don't use. We have our 2 or 3 favorites that we're using all the time. And sometimes accidentally we click on another program, or an event happens in our life that triggers something, and our life was running this way and suddenly it's now running this way. And we're kind of going, oh my gosh, what's happened? What did I do? And so in that template, what we have to do is take the programs off that are not useful or we're not using, so that we don't accidentally hit them. They're like the junk that's on our desktop, right? For people who feel that there's been a curse or a black cloud or something's always pulling them back, often you need someone who knows what to do with that. because it's
a
not
spiritual
possible
IT
yourself.
guide.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's why I'm
That's
here.
a new one to add to my resume. Spiritual IT. Because you have to be able to follow that energy and be supported enough and in a high enough vibration where working with that is not going to cause any disruption further to the person who has the curse or to the person who's helping undo that for that person.
So there is a way then to clear a curse.
Absolutely.
Can you clear it
Absolutely.
yourself through detoxing, meditation, you know, like a clearing?
I think at times we can. It depends how centered we can get and how balanced. And sometimes we create our own curses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Think about the
We can
number of
make
times
ourselves
we say,
believe.
I'm so stupid. Please don't say that to yourself. Right? And because it becomes a terminology that we use. Watch the words that we use and that are common to use.
We're programming
Right?
ourselves.
Or, I'm so angry I could kill myself, or I could kill someone else. Those are common words we use, but
And then
think
that
about the
person shows
vibration
up
it
dead the
holds.
next day and you're in big trouble.
Mm.
You ever do that? Do you ever kind of like make some funny statement like that and think in your head, wow, what would happen if someone overheard that and I was just kidding? And this person mysteriously shows up dead.
Oh, and unfortunately I've worked with people who, you know, wish someone dead and that person showed up, you know, they were hit by a drunk driver the next day and have to live with a lifetime of,
That's
oh my
horrible.
gosh, what did I do? Right? So it calls us
I
to
hate
be
to think
mindful.
someone has that much power.
We all do. We all do. That's why it calls us to be mindful and center and balance ourselves. And when we're in balance, you'll find that we won't spin off that much with those kinds of things. So you asked, can we remove that curse ourselves? Sometimes yes, but it requires going into a balance or sometimes a ritual that allows you to clear your energy field or unhook. Because sometimes a curse is like a hook, like a fish hook in you.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
you
heard
get
that where people are seen with all these hooks in them.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to be.
Oh, it's probably pretty uncomfortable, right?
Probably. Going back to soul retrieval,
Yes.
how, and I'm not sure, I may have asked you this already, but how would someone know if they needed soul retrieval? How would they know?
The biggest indicator is hear your terminology, or when you feel like you're searching or you're so tired because you have been searching and you just want to give up sometimes. Or if, and people seriously, they talk this way, they feel it. Something's missing. I don't know what. Something is missing. Right there, that's an indicator.
I think I did ask you that question before. So as a shaman, how do you bring peace to the earth?
I bring peace by finding the peace inside myself first. Being at peace in here. So even if there's something that I see outside of me that doesn't seem at peace, I take that and hold that in here and bring peace inside. Because if everything outside of me is part of me, I bring it in because it is me, and I make peace with it.
If everything in the world has a vibration,
Yes, and it does.
to help balance your energy, help balance yourself, is it good to surround yourself with different vibrations?
I believe so. Well,
Like music, for one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And well, we've heard research over a long times about what music does, both on the positive side and the denser side. And so surrounding with music, and it's different for everyone, right? Sometimes it's rocks. You come to my place, you're surrounded by rocks, all kinds of rocks everywhere. Nature. Nature is a very important one to go out to. And
I love nature sounds. I love it when it rains.
well, and we often think we have to go somewhere to be nature, but it's often in our backyard. Step outside your shelter, and nature is right there, right? And nature is even, and for those who sometimes can't step outside, I think about people who are maybe in homes or have some sort of physical challenges that they can't step outside. Nature is you. So come in here and step inside to the nature here. But if we can get outside, because nature has a natural rhythm, and we can't, and it's a higher vibration, and the way the laws of the universe are is that a lower vibration always has to come up to a higher vibration. So if we just go and sit in nature, we'll automatically, if we're out of balance, we'll automatically come up to that higher vibration, and it'll challenge our heartbeat, which when we're in anxiousness or upset is like that. We go to nature, and nature just has this rhythm, like the tides, right? Or the waves
the ocean.
on the lake.
I love watching water.
Or the river.
It's soothing.
The sound, right? And it slows us down, and it brings everything back to a settled place.
That's probably why they came up with those baby, not the monitors. You know, my son has like, he had this little fish tank. And it would play the nice soothing water music at night. And yeah.
Beautiful.
So, speaking of vibrations, I have something, and don't get too excited. Here we go. I picked this up. Listen. It's like the sound of rain. It's called a rain stick. I don't know where these originated. I was wondering if you might.
I don't know where they originated, no.
Or what they might be used for, other than what I'm using it for, just to hear the rain fall. If you're inside and you can't get out and you want to hear the rain.
Absolutely.
Isn't that beautiful?
Absolutely. So the different instruments that we see used in the more indigenous cultures, like the rain stick, is because it sets off a higher vibration, and that vibration, see, I like a bit of physiology too, so it goes into the brain waves, and it reminds us into the alpha waves, and those alpha waves help us to settle more. So they're used with music, they're used with meditation, they're used to bring a quietness, that rhythm, like being if you can't get out into nature, it just reminds us. Right. I was at like a dance theater or a production, and they were making the rain. They started off and snapping, and then they had different. There was like 10 people lined up, and then they were clapping, and then they were banging, and then
and it
stamping
sounded like
the feet,
rain
and it
when they
sounded
were
like
done?
thunder, because you had 10 of them doing it. It was beautiful.
It's on YouTube. And it's a vocal group, and they end up singing Africa, all a cappella.
Ah,
really?
And it's a beautiful thing.
You.
It's on YouTube.
Okay, everyone check that out. That does sound beautiful.
And a friend of mine last night was telling me, this is, I assume if you go somewhere on Google, it's there. It's called the Cricket Chorus.
Crickets? Like real crickets?
Real crickets. And apparently what they did was they took real crickets and slowed down the sound somehow, and then they had those crickets very slowed down, and at the same time played crickets at the normal speed. But what you hear the crickets saying when they're slowed down is hallelujah.
Oh goodness, for a minute there I thought it was John is dead. I was worried.
Oh, hallelujah.
Really?
Really?
I haven't gone. Now, is that on YouTube? Is that
I'm
must be.
assuming it's somewhere if we Google it.
And they actually...
The cricket chorus.
Now, how do you know that isn't something they tampered with? That's a beautiful thought, though. That
Don't you think nature always is reminding us to be in hallelujah, though? That higher vibration.
As open and positive as I like to think I am, I don't know why cricket saying hallelujah isn't resonating with me. I would love to think that is true. But I also think man has a way of manipulating things.
Well, I think that can be, but
I have to trust that those
I've
crickets...
had the great opportunity to be in the jungles, and my gosh, that's a place I could live, because everything is alive there. Nothing dies. It's always constant and awake.
Is that like a rainforest kind of thing? Is that like in the movies where you see the jungle and you hear all the birds and
the birds during the day?
Like
and
that
then
649 commercial. Have you seen that one?
No.
They're out looking at the birds. They're in the middle of the jungle and everything, and the next thing you know, they're at their little house, and it shows it in the middle of an island. And
Nice.
I hate that commercial. Who hates that commercial? It's like, I don't want to see these 649 commercials anymore. I love my life. I don't need to be reminded that it could be better. Am I right? Those are cruel commercials. Let's ban the 649 commercials.
We could dream.
Clearly they are not a sponsor. Well, here's the thing. We have actually, in the weeks to come, Bobby coming on the show, and she's doing drumming.
Ah, beautiful.
They have drum
Beautiful.
circles. Oh, hang on. I'm being told, shh. Oh, is this the... Shh.
That's what you're talking about. That's them doing the stuff. Just so that we can have some sound.
Oh, that's thunder. I think he was messing with the equipment.
This is all people.
That's incredible. That's the thunder. I knew a frog once who used to sing, "How am my baby, how am my honey, how am my ragtime gal."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Always.
The frog with the tall hat.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh well, we're back to our show. So that was great.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
It's amazing what we can do. So, as I was saying, Bobby is coming on the show, and she does drum circles, and I believe in the fall she does what's called the greatest or the biggest drum circle in the world, and she gets it's Barbie Burnett, and she gets together people doing drum circles all over the world globally at the exact same time for the vibration, and so she'll be on talking to us about that too. Music's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, well, and all of that raises a vibration, and I know also that in the traditions that I work with, we do ceremony all the time. We do fire ceremonies all the time, and simultaneously around the world we set times where there's fires going on all around the world.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I have another friend, Sheila, who just sent me something on Facebook saying that they're doing this fire ceremony, and you know, do you want to participate? And I didn't get details, so I wasn't sure what it was. And all I kept thinking was, I can't even have a fire pit going in my backyard, and the fire department says I can't do that. So how would someone like me who's in a subdivision
Do that?
Yeah, how would you do that?
So you know those charcoal barbecues? What are they called? Hibachis?
Yes.
Get that and put a fire in it.
Oh.
And then you are barbecuing. So you learn how to make things very simple.
So you just, when they show up, you just tell them that your
You're
husband
barbecuing.
doesn't know how to cook.
Well, you're barbecuing. You don't, sometimes we think a fire in a ritual needs to be that big.
Well, you do.
But you can even do, if you live in an apartment.
Candles?
Candles. It's a fire. It's a
Okay.
fire.
Well, it said
And
something
you know
like have
what?
it burn for 4 days, though. I can't have a barbecue going for 4 days.
So now we have this thing at IKEA, I believe, that for whatever reason sometimes we can't have candles burning. Okay? Maybe you live in a home somewhere and that's not allowed. IKEA has these little candles, these fake candles. It's your intention. Now, if possible, you want some of the energy, right? But if you can, it's the intention that you're holding.
I was just trying to say to Tech Guy to bring me one of those candles you're talking about, because we actually have one we could show you. But they actually, they have them too at, where is it, Home Depot. At least they did after Christmas, but they were a really good deal. But they're flameless, but they look like a real flame.
Right. I would still encourage, I say this lightly because I also don't want us to take the easy way out, right? Is that if you can, because there's something very special about fire.
There is.
Right? It's very, just like there's something special about water. It's cleansing.
I think spirits come too when, like when you light a candle, the white light attracts good spirits, and I think.
And we see things. Think about Harry Potter. Remember, he saw things. We all see things in the fire. All of us are attracted to watch fire because we see things, or it reminds us of things inside. So I want to remind us all: let's not take the easy way.
That's that childlike thing you were talking about, because that reminds me, we used to go camping every year when I was a kid, and kids do that. They look into the fire, and when it gets down to the little embers, and I used to think there were little villages in there, and you just see all sorts of things, and it's magical.
Yeah. There was...
See the things you forget. There should be a child day. There should be a child day around the world where adults have to go out and act like children for one day.
That would be... Can you
Wouldn't
imagine
that be a hoot?
How beautiful. How beautiful.
Out there flying their kites and their tricycles, and our viewers are out there going, okay, is this show over?
Well, the beauty, there was one day where there were fire vigils being held around the earth, and they actually took satellite pictures, and you could see some of the fires that were burning around the earth.
When was that?
It was last year sometime.
That would be, I bet that's on YouTube.
Oh, I'm sure
Everything's on YouTube. Wow, that would be beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. So, back to shamanism. Do you know of any books? Like, if people want to read up on it or learn more about it, obviously there's the internet, or do you have any favorites, though?
Some of the really well-known people: Michael Harner, Sandra Ingerberg. They spent a lot of time studying. Joan Wilcox, she wrote a book on Children of the Light, I believe it's called. Alberto Villoldo, he has books. The Four Insights is a lovely book. Shaman, Healer, Sage.
Is that different, the 4 Insights, from the 9 Insights, or 11? It's different? Okay.
Yeah. And it's all based in shamanism, and that comes more from a South American tradition. What are some of the other books? There's a gentleman in Africa, Credo Metwa, M-A-T-W-A, reading some of his books. The Way of the Shaman, The Doorway of the Shaman.
There's a lot of books.
There's a lot of books.
So, speaking of Africa, aren't you taking a trip?
I am. I will be in Africa all of April.
And what are you doing there?
What I'm doing is I'm fulfilling a vision that was given to me of some work that I was asked to do, if you will, by Spirit. And that vision came 3 years ago. And that vision was to start collecting waters from around the world and work with them in ceremony to bring them together as one. And then to take it out into the Kalahari Desert and work in ceremony in the desert with those waters. So it's feeding the earth and feeding humanity and working towards bringing us more and more back together as one. So I have been, every time people go away, I can't physically get to all those places. They're
bringing you water?
They're bringing water.
Oh,
and so I have waters from, I'm probably close to every continent at this point.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Are there other people that have had this calling? Are you doing it with a group when you eventually do it in the desert, or?
When I get visions like that, I never assume that anyone should be with me, because I always assume no one's as crazy as I am.
I'm just picturing you alone out there in the desert hauling all this water. I would hope you're going to have some help.
Well,
you might want to bring some extra water from Canada.
Oh my gosh, that'd be a great cartoon. There's Heidi out in the desert. I'm sorry I drank all the water, I didn't mean to. I have to start all over again.
It would be so out of integrity, I'd be shot down for that one.
Oh my gosh.
Well, a good friend of mine has has been to Africa many times with the medicine people. So she was arranging something, and I had seen in vision that this was going to happen. I said, let me piggyback with you and find me a bushman, because I will need someone to take care of my physical body while I'm working. And then, it all came into place. Anyways, the end result is going to be that... You
with a bushman alone in the desert. Okay.
Well, I have some bushmen.
We're not judging.
And there are a small group of people and some medicine people that will be there. And how things will look when I'm in ceremony, I never know until I'm actually there, because I've been called to different places around the world and have done this. This is probably just the biggest far-out expedition.
When will you actually be in the desert? Do you know yet?
Oh, let me think here. I think between April 19th to 25, 26, somewhere around that range, I'll be in the desert for that span.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. Are you filming it?
No.
Oh, you should film it.
Well, anyone who wants to volunteer and come along, they can do that.
But you should film it, because then we could tag it on the end of our blog. Anyone who'd like to see your expedition. You just don't want us seeing you drinking the water. I mean, come clean with us, Heidi. That's really what it is.
Okay, you're right.
There's Heidi in the desert,
Drinking all the water that's there with the salt water and the sulfur water.
Oh, okay. Wow. Is there anything you'd like to add before we say goodnight to our viewers?
I think the biggest thing that I would want to say to the viewers is to, again, that trust. That trust comes up so much. Take things into ceremony. Come into balance inside of yourself. Put your intentions not out there but in here, because sometimes we want it to happen out there. Bring it in here, and then follow the steps, because you get hints when you feel like you should do something or say something or try calling this place. Do it, even if your mind says, oh, that's crazy, or they're going to think I'm crazy. Do it, because you're going to see results come into place. And if you're feeling lost, or if you feel like there's a dark cloud or something like that, get someone to help you, so you get out of that you don't have to live with that, and you don't have to live with those contracts all the time. Is we can recognize them and say, thank you, I'd like a new one.
Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Christine.
This was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
And I hope actually you can come back after your trip and tell us all about it. That would be great. We'd love Heidi to come back, I'm sure. Thanks so much for joining us this evening, and Heidi, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
It's a great show. Next week we have Carolyn McDermott coming on. We're doing Crystal Skulls. So 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.